just give me a tap whenever you're done, okay?
Greg, nice that. They didn't hear or have picked all I did last time was receive that. Whatever you did up there is probably what fixed it.
Welcome everybody to Field 8 of Toyota Soccer Center for Champions Division action here at the 2018 Generation Adidas Cup. We are getting ready to kick off this match between Atlanta United and Independiente del Valle of Group B. David Goss alongside Bobby Warshaw here in Frisco as the winds blow through. These two teams are ready after a year of waiting. For Atlanta United, a year of qualifying. These two sides are ready to get started here at the Generation Adidas Cup. Bobby, Atlanta United coming in, their second year of play. Of course, one of the new clubs in MLS, one of the new academies under Tony Annan. And Independiente del Valle, as we mentioned, a new club as well in Ecuador, but very successful early on. These two teams, they're going to come out here. They've watched for a little while throughout this day to see how teams have come out and played. Heavy wins, a new experience that gets the new team. What's your expectations as we get kicked off?
Yeah, David, it's definitely been a long day for Atlanta. They've waited all year for this big event, and now they have to wait until almost 5 p.m. to play this first game. They've watched 4 series of games. Not only that, but they're playing a totally new team. They've played the DA teams. They've played the local teams from the south and the southeast of the United States. Now they get to play an Ecuadorian team, which is even more exciting. So Atlanta's just going to be happy to be able to kick off and get this game going.
Atlanta United first in the East region in GA Cup qualifying. And that's what allowed them to be here today. They come in over NYCFC and historic strong academies like the New York Red Bulls and DC United, as they ended up finishing with a 5-1-0 record, a plus 13 goal differential on top in that East region. They start off early on here with Vincent Floro in goal, right to left along the back line, Jordan Francombe, Kendall Edwards, George Campbell, and professional soccer player George Bello at left back, signed to a pro deal last year. I had the chance to come play with this team here and help be a part of what they hope is a trophy down here in Texas. In the midfield 3, they have Takuma Suzuki in the holding midfield role with Remy Smith and Victor Delgado above him. And then left to right in the attack, Liam Butts, Jackson Conway at center forward, and Nathaniel McDonald at the right attacking position. That was the one late.
going to try and put pressure right away.
George Bello is going to be a big part of the attack coming up from that left back spot. He's one of the better players on this team, one of the more experienced players on this team, but also his style as a left back, liking to get forward, liking to get into the attack to create, similar to what we see Greg Garza do with Atlanta United.
Bello was one of the things I was more excited to watch this week, see how he could play. We've heard a lot of good things.
This ball hangs up awkwardly, a collision at the top of the box. George Campbell happy to see our head official wave that one off. Our officials today, leading the show, is Kevin Broadley, his two ARs, Jazz Parr, and Shane Kennard, and our fourth official, Natalie Simon.
We saw the first free kick come in, and they whipped it in towards the near post. Be interesting to see what they do with this one. A lot of the times when you have the wind against you like this, you try and float something up and make the goalkeeper have to make a decision. Does he come and get it, or does he wait on his line? But here Atlanta has Conway on the near post, and they're going to make Independiente go over that initial zone mark.
Interesting that Atlanta left two players up the field to try and force the Valle to defend a little. This one right along the end line, still in play. The center back Campbell taps it by, trying to get to that sideline. He's able to clear it up the field.
Here we see Atlanta pressuring again. As soon as they lose it, putting Independiente under pressure.
Suzuki now on the ball.
Interesting to see Suzuki slow the game down here, David. One thing you look for in defensive midfielders isn't just technical ability, it's ability to read the moments in the game.
Mistake there from Delgado, intercepted by Ovando.
I would have thought Suzuki would have wanted to keep a higher pace. It's that Atlanta in general would have wanted to keep a higher pace. So it'll be interesting to see if that's an initiative from the coaching staff or Suzuki making a decision, and if it's right or wrong as the first half goes on.
Long, dangerous stop made there by Francombe, and then swept away by Campbell. Campbell and Edwards settling in as the center backs for this team. Coach Annan talked to us a while last night about George Campbell. Now it's taken him a little bit of some time to develop, played in central midfield, liked his abilities and thought maybe he could be of use at center back. And now they feel like he's really starting to come into his own at that position.
And they said as he develops, you can see he's one of the taller, bigger players, that some days he just looks in totally control of his body and some days he doesn't. That he's still trying to figure out how to move, how to control the ball. Just as he develops, it's something we see a lot with players at this age.
Sanchez knocks that ball out by accident. Bello gets collided into by Moracho.
And one thing that the Atlanta coaching staff said about Bello is that he specifically asked to come to this tournament. He's been training with the first team. He trains with the USL team. He plays with the USL team. He could play with the 19s. And he said, I want to come with my team. This is my age group, my group of guys. I want to come. And that really made the Atlanta coaching staff happy to hear a guy to be so eager to come and compete in a big tournament like this.
Atlanta United, too, are going to make their debut tomorrow against New York Red Bulls, too, at home. And we believe Bello may have been a starter in that game. Definitely would have been on the bench, but as you said, wanted to come here and be a part of this team. He's actually down behind the play now. The trainer immediately on the field. This does not look good. So George Bello signed a professional contract in 2017. This Atlanta United team, its first year on the books, this academy was already 3 years old. Tony Annan coming up, working with existing academies. And already, this is a team that has Andrew Carlton that everyone knows, and Chris Goslin as well, but 7 homegrown signings for a team that's just 1 year old. It shows the work that Atlanta United's been able to do early on.
You know, David, I had known the number was 7, but to still hear you say it out loud for a club that's only been in existence for 2 years, to have 7 guys is impressive. It just feels like it goes with the entire ethos of what we've been hearing about this Atlanta club. It feels like an organization with a plan and with a vision for who they want to be. So many MLS clubs react one play at a time, one decision at a time, and clearly Atlanta has a larger plan on who they want to be in with a long-term vision.
A big conversation around Atlanta United is getting into the world market, bringing in an Almiron to sell an Almiron and a Barco to sell a Barco. Having a good academy is part of that. Having players that you develop yourself to then turn for profits or to at least go overseas and show what Atlanta United's like. Maybe you they play with the player who ends up coming to your team later on, or with coaching staffs that end up valuing Atlanta United a little bit more in the future.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The best clubs, whether anywhere in the world, whether it's Real Madrid, Manchester United, Atlanta United, they find different ways to get good players, whether it's buying them in the national market, whether it's bringing them in from different teams in the league, or whether it's developing them on your own. If you can do all of those things, you can find payback, you can find dividends from each of those options.
George Bello being helped off the field. Seems like that's going to be an early end to his competition, but
looks like an arm injury, if that's any consolation.
Are talking to him right now. Now, you've been here now for most of the afternoon. We've seen a round of champions play, a day of the Premier Division. What have you seen from young players from these academies? What's impressed you? What have you maybe hoped to see a little bit better in?
The biggest thing I noticed coming off of the FC Dallas game, the first game I saw in the Champions Division, the Champions Division being the higher of the two, Premier one step below, was the level of intensity. That the Premier Division we saw, the games were okay, the players were good, and it's just kind of what we know in general about the sport of soccer, that the faster you can play it, the more intensity you can bring to the game, the higher level you'll be at. So as we go into these Champions games, I'm looking for that intensity compared to the Premier Division. Because, David, in truth, and this is true about soccer anywhere in the world, the difference between levels in terms of the ability to play on the ball isn't that big. The biggest difference is the intensity with which you can play with the ball at your feet and the speed at which you can play with the ball at your feet.
Yeah, we get a chance to call these games from right on the side of the field. And, we watched 3 games. You go sit down and Eintracht Frankfurt and Toronto FC kick off, a game that Eintracht Frankfurt won. And you could feel the speed and the intensity and the energy just a little bit notch up immediately from the first kickoff. Looks like Atlanta United will make a substitution for Bello.
And one thing that's pretty pertinent around American and Canadian soccer conversations right now is the mental aspect of the game and how we deal with different game states, different situations. Clearly the U.S. men's national team struggled when they went to away matches in CONCACAF qualifying. And it's how do we deal with those scenarios. And in the first 2 games today, David, we saw Houston go up 1-0 on Mexican club Monterrey, end up losing 3-1. And we saw Seattle Sounders go down 1-0 to a Japanese club and came back to win 6-1. And just looking at the two contrasts, Houston did not deal with the situation of the game, did not deal with the circumstances in the moment, whereas the Sounders were very mentally prepared to deal with the adversity. So it's been fun to see these 17-year-olds not just play with the ball at their feet, but to deal with these different moments throughout a game, and that's something we're going to talk about throughout the week.
Well, this is going to be a bit of adversity for Atlanta United, so it'll be interesting to watch this play out as George Bello, the only player here signed to a professional contract, considered a leader on this team, a big piece of what they do. He won't be able to go on, so a substitution will be coming in right now. Liam Butts, the left midfielder, has dropped back into that spot as Atlanta United's been playing the last 2-3 minutes, 10 on 11, while they get their substitute ready. It looks from down here that Matthew Rios is going to be the defender to come on. He's playing a lot at center back as well, so we'll see how much Coach Annan shifts this around.
That doesn't just hurt them for the quality on the field. It just shakes a team up. Like we said, you wait a year, and Bello's probably their best player on the field right now. So to lose that guy, the person you really feel like you can count on in a lot of situations, it can worry a group. It can make you wonder how you're going to get that production emotionally, too. So I'm fascinated to see how Atlanta United's going to deal with this over the next 5 minutes and what their emotional state is going to be trying to deal with this shakeup to their lineup.
And one of the things you see with any young team, but especially these MLS teams, is when you have 1 or 2 special players, you can see everyone relax that moment when they're able to finally get them to the ball, knowing they're going to make something happen, or at least they can calm the play down. You lose one of those guys where it's an outlet for you, and now everyone else has to step up a little bit. It should be fun to watch as the Valle comes down that right wing. Cross played in by the fullback, Jose Hurtado.
Really liked Edwards' body position there at the near post. That ended up going to the goalkeeper's hands, but largely because Edwards was in good positioning to cut off any crossing danger.
Independiente del Valle in their second ever trip here to Frisco for the Generation Adidas Cup. They came in second place 2 years ago when they were in this competition.
Atlanta down a man right now. Bello's still out injured. They haven't gotten the sub on. So how are they going to manage this moment?
Turnover from Suzuki in a dangerous area. Good interchange down the middle. A chance now down the left side. Goalkeeper comes out and the save is made. Not sure if it was Florio or Edwards that ended up with the block. It was a dangerous moment that they were able to escape from.
That's definitely a situation that the Atlanta coaching staff is going to bring up after the game. To be down a man and to give a ball like that up is not something that you can accept.
So it looks like
Bello's back
Bello
on.
will return to this game. One of the star players of this team went down holding that wrist. He signed a professional contract last April, as we said, out of Douglasville, Georgia. He had 1 goal and 2 assists last year here at the GA Cup. What a performance from him to come right back out there. So it looks like Butts will slide back into his midfield position. Bello going back into his natural left back position, and that's great to see, Bobby, just that he's not that injured.
Yeah, just the fact that he's back on the field, but also so we get to see one of the better prospects in American soccer, and we get to see one of the better teams at this tournament at full strength. And also, as we said early on about how much Bello wanted to be here, I mean, this is a guy with a professional contract, with a professional career on the line, and a lot of players would have said, hey, I'm not risking my health for an under-17 game.
Right.
But it just shows how much it means to him and how much he wants to compete.
And to fight to come back out.
To fight to come back out, that he's willing to put a lot on the line for his teammates. And that's going to go a long way. Those are the kind of things that coaches notice. From Tata Martino to Carlos Bocanegra, they'll be happy to see how much he cares right now.
The wind against Devalle.
And we have noticed all day, David, that the teams that press the opposition when the opposition has to play into the wind have been very successful. Because it just limits that option. You can want to play out, but if you won't play out, at some point you need to knock it long, either into your target striker, into the channel. You need to play it behind to stretch the other team's defense. And if you can't do that, then you're trying to play out the whole time, and you're just out of options. So if you can press the team that's trying to play into the wind, we've noticed that these clubs have had a lot of success today.
Early ball there from Edwards into Conway, and now Atlanta trying to knock it around a bit. Once again, charging forward is Hurtado. Cleared away by Francombe. Neither team really able to control play so far. Both teams looking to settle down a little bit.
Atlanta goes here. McDonald steps up.
McDonald's kind of pressing on his own.
Yeah, it's surprising. He's going to be upset that his team didn't go with him, because if Atlanta wants to be in a pressing posture, that's the kind of moment they have to take advantage of. When Independiente has their back to them, when they're playing sloppy passes, those are the cues to step. And Butts made the right decision, and he has to wonder why his teammates didn't come with him.
Bello now chasing back. Able to get in the way. The line towards Butts. Butts can't keep possession, and that'll be a throw-in for Independiente. The Ecuadorian side. Not around very long for a continent that has a lot of historic clubs, but immediate success for them with their Cinderella Copa Libertadores run just a few years ago. Campbell's not able to keep that one in.
Bello clearly still in some pain holding that wrist.
Double down defensively. Carlos Sanchez can't get away. And now Hurtado coming all the way back up from his fullback spot. We've seen him be aggressive to get into the attack. Campbell up off the chest of Conway.
Nicely taken down by Conway. We talked to some scouts about him in advance of this, and one player they compared him to was Connor Casey. So he's a big frame, likes to hold up the ball, comfortable with the ball at his feet as well.
Conman, what a legend.
Yep.
Now, Connor Casey wasn't always the player he ended his career as, though.
Correct.
I mean, he was
lighter.
Well, he was just a speed guy that would get on the end of things and finish, especially when he was over in Germany. But yeah, lighter's a word for it as well. So Edwards hits that one long, and right now, Atlanta United just struggling to maintain possession. Everything is a clearance out the back that Conway's forced to try and chase on.
But David, it's important to note that Atlanta United's going to be okay that they can't keep possession right now, because that's not the way that they're going to win this game. They know that they're going to win this game with the wind, with the team that they don't really know that much about as the opposition. They're going to win this game by pressing, by getting easy opportunities, by beating them on the counter. And that's a big part of development at this stage, is understanding how you can win any specific game, because your coach can give you all these lessons in training. But at the end of the day, you have to go out there and make decisions. You have to go out there and figure out how you're going to win on that day. So Atlanta, even though they're not keeping great possession, they need to understand it. It sounds like they do from talking to their coaching staff and preparing them, that this isn't going to be a day you're going to win through beautiful soccer.
Tony Annan, who was hired to put together the entire academy top down in what he told us is his last season coaching this U17 squad. They've had some good success going down to Mexico for tournaments, as well as they're playing the Generation Adidas and USDA, qualifying in regular season, and now trying to cap it off in this tournament. McDonald and Delgado battling in the corner. They're able to push it back to Francombe, who looks to curl the cross in. Cleared away by the hulking center back there in Pacho.
We talked at the start about how McDonald could have good days and could have bad days, and it appears from early on in this game he's having a good day. He's sharp so far, and that's a good sign for what Atlanta wants to do.
Independiente, they're trying to take it quickly. They hit that free kick right off the back of Bello.
Suzuki read that play well as the center defensive midfielder, as the lone six in this squad who has to control that defensive midfield space by himself. Came and broke up that play nicely, but when he broke it up, it created a gap right in front of the center backs. It's a high-risk, high-reward move, because if he doesn't win that ball, there's a big gap in front of his center back. So either one of the other center midfielders, like a Delgado, needs to rotate over, or Suzuki says, I don't need to go win this ball, I need to protect the more dangerous space. So that's something to keep an eye on, are those decisions that Suzuki makes defensively.
Alongside him in the midfield, Delgado and Smith. Edwards there with an acrobatic clearance, ends up taking a piece of it. Looked like Darlin Layton over there on the far side. So it'll be a free kick now for Independiente, who you have to say, against the win, a team that wants to press them. Yes, they were man up for a bit because of Bello's injury, but have come out and they've played fairly pragmatic. They've had a few half chances, the one really good breakaway off the mistake. But it's similar to the performance we saw from Monterrey, of playing toe-to-toe in the first half, knowing you can get that head of steam in the second half. Ball clipped over the top. Early clearance by Campbell. And that one rolls all the way back to Penargote.
Beautiful image of Atlanta United pressing there. That's exactly what you want it to be. As the winger steps, the outside back follows up and takes the next man, and sometimes it forces the center back to come out wide, but that's what you need when you press. And that's why we often see pressing teams having athletic center backs. It's what made Miazga so important to Jesse Marsh's system with the New York Red Bulls.
Francombe pushes it wide for McDonald. Smith trying to step in between a defender, and that was one cleared out in the end. Suzuki can't keep it alive for his team. Right now, a lot of pinball between these two teams.
Pinball's a fun game, too.
I was going to say ping pong, and then I said pinball, and that's the explanation for that. Not clean soccer right now. I don't know how anyone would describe it. These two teams scratching and clawing right now, trying to get a foothold. You're looking at one of those games where whoever scores the opening goal will decide a lot of the way the rest of this game is played out. Who's going to have to try and force numbers forward? Who's going to have to potentially try and sit and protect a lead?
It'll be worth watching in these last 10 minutes of this half. How much urgency does Atlanta United have to get a goal while they still have the wind? How much of a priority is it to let themselves get stretched and go for that goal and not go 0-0 into halftime when they then have to play into the wind and potentially get pressed?
Campbell goes all the way back to Florio. Made the one big save. Really the only time he's been tested. Smith into the feet of Conway. Pushes it wide for Bello. Bello immediately closed down there by Sanchez. And now Suzuki to the feet of Edwards. Edwards and Campbell, a very active first half. I think both those center backs, outside of the one turnover, have been very good.
Definitely a strong performance from both of them so far.
As Conway gets taken down in a dangerous area. So a free kick opportunity coming for the Five Stripes.
And Atlanta United does have multiple set-piece options here. It's something they work on in training, not just a direct free kick, but plays off of free kicks from all parts of the field.
Coach Annan said something to Bello, who jogged over, whether it's to relay the play or set himself up.
And here we see Smith lining up the shot with two Atlanta United players seemingly blocking the ball. What they're trying to do is they're trying to block the sight line of the goalkeeper. A lot of the times we see a ball that goes by a goalie and we say, why didn't he save that? And it's because the goalkeeper reacts late. He sees the ball late. Obviously, the later a goalkeeper sees the ball, the less time he has to dive.
They roll it to the side and Bello's strike is blocked.
Or they can run that play too, surprising even the goalkeeper and the analysts.
Teams getting more and more creative with set pieces, both at the pro level, but we've seen a lot of different options here at the GA Cup for these young teams. Bello with the chance to cross, it's blocked. Suzuki now with a little bit of space. Is it taken off his foot? Francombe in a foot race there with Espinoza. Clearance blasted long. Campbell and Edwards dump it right back in. Atlanta United will be hosts of this year's All-Star game as well as this year's homegrown game. They've got, as we've said, 5 to 6 options of players that can come into that. Andrew Carlton, one of the biggest names, but Chris Goslin is a player that's gotten a lot of talk after his U17 World Cup performance. People never really thought that the South was a hotbed for soccer.
And they were wrong.
Yeah.
They apparently were very wrong.
But that's not only do you get the fans, but to have that many quality players in the area means it was there all along. 70,000 fans and now a robust academy in a short amount of time, starting to produce talented players.
Fantastic pattern. The win carried that out of bounds, but that was great to see. The winger check back, the outside back overlap, clearly a pattern they've worked on before, not quite as sharp as they want. But the fact that they got into their pattern play shows that Atlanta's growing into this game and becoming more confident.
And Delgado's a player that we were looking to get on the ball a lot. He hasn't had the touches he'd want early on. Good to see, as we've talked about already today, just the comfort and confidence players develop from getting touches in a game.
Yep.
To see a couple of these players start to get into the flow a little bit is Suzuki.
Good foul by Suzuki. We talked earlier about how he vacates the space right in front of the back four, and as a defensive midfielder, you need to tell yourself that the ball is getting through, I need to foul so that they can't get to that space.
First, it's a great meg from Maracho. Then it's a good foul by Suzuki.
I'm a defensive midfielder myself, so I don't notice the megs. I only notice the
Maracho's a defensive midfielder himself, although he's wearing number 10. But you can pick up a meg or two here or there. Bello brings it down off his chest. Campbell stepping into midfield, challenged by Sanchez. Suzuki under a little bit of pressure. Atlanta trying to play out of the back. Delgado back into the feet of Bello, and Butts is in an offside position.
But you can see, once again, Atlanta gets on the ball. They connect passes. They're growing more and more comfortable as the minutes go on this game. You just hope it's not too little too late in this half while they have the advantage of being able to press into the wind.
Sanchez cutting in field. Smith finally making an interception.
And a nice tackle by Bello. It's always hard for an outside back as the ball leaves his wide channel. Does he follow the ball? Does he pass it on? And if you do follow the ball like that, you need to win your tackle because now you've left your zone open for our next runner to come on. So a nicely timed tackle by Bello.
I wonder if Atlanta, they want to press high, but maybe come out of their game a little bit in this first half with these long balls out of the back and how they'll play in the second half, because all the best moments we've seen from Atlanta has been this build-up on the ground. And so it'll be interesting to see going against the wind when they're kind of forced to keep it on the floor, how they react in the second half. Suzuki with the pressure defensively. This tackle goes out of bounds. Throwing coming now for Chavez. As we approach halftime, 35-minute halves, 70-minute games here at the GA Cup. Each team 3 games in the group stage. Flamengo out of Brazil and the Portland Timbers, the other 2 teams in this group. Flamengo getting the win early on against the Timbers, so sitting at the top of the group. 3 points for a win if this game's tied at the end of the 70 minutes plus stoppage. We'll go directly to penalty kicks, 2 points for a PK win, and then 1 normal point for a tie if you lose, as Maracho gets taken down once again. And we're going to see our first yellow card. This going to Victor Delgado here. We saw a red card on this field in our last game, NYCFC, a straight red for one of their center mids, Justin Hack, as Atletico Paranaense got the win over them. The other group stage game there, Sporting Kansas City facing off against Real Madrid. That'll be here on the broadcast directly after this one, just minutes apart, so don't go anywhere. And that'll be the final game of day 1 of action. We've got a full slate of 5 more days. Butts goes up to the feet of Conway. Conway down the line for Delgado. Delgado onside.
McDonald's from the far side running near post.
And the flag finally goes up. Our center referee, Kevin Broadley, making that call himself. Now a chance for DeValle to charge forward. I haven't seen them push into that final third much this game.
A strong punch by the goalkeeper here. You can't blame him not wanting to catch that in this win today.
What have you seen from this Independiente del Valle team so far?
When we talk about managing games, especially at this age group, and Atlanta hasn't been able to get on the break, they haven't been able to pressure, largely because Independiente has been planning to stop those 2 things. They haven't taken risks playing out of the back to get caught in possession, but also, if we look at their shape, they almost always have at least 1 defensive midfielder, if not 2, right in front of the 2 center backs. When you do that, you obviously don't have as much going forward, but you're saying you're not going to catch us on the break. You're not going to catch us in the danger zones when we give up the ball.
It seems like they'd rather push their fullbacks into the attack than push those 2 midfielders that you mentioned into the attack.
And coming from Ecuador, coming to Frisco, Texas, playing the first game of the tournament, sometimes you just want to limit your risk in that first game. You want to play conservative, get your feet under you in a new field, new country, new opponent.
Able to save that one from going out. Great job there from the center back, Rialpe.
And basically you want to try and achieve exactly what they're doing.
Hurtado coming forward into the path of Sanchez. Bello and Campbell both close. Campbell finds that ball.
Campbell has been fantastic in this first half.
Yeah, Campbell and Edwards, they've been a wall at that center back position, but Campbell's had to do a lot of work, and you think about the way Bello plays, always going forward and attacking. Campbell knows coming into this one, he's got to cover that space. He might have situations where he has to go out and mark a winger, and he's been very good so far in this one. Delgado looking to spray it wide for McDonald. And that one will catch up a little bit and roll out.
And one thing that seems to be happening with Atlanta right now, David, is that they do just seem to lack a little bit of confidence. When you play a new team, especially an international team as a 17-year-old kid, you're excited, you're nervous, you wonder if you're good enough, you don't really know what to expect. So this first half is entirely surprising. Oh no, just as we talked about how great Campbell's been. The curse of David Goss. I blame you for that.
Yeah, I blame myself. I normally do.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotions going into this for this Atlanta United squad. Part of being 17 is learning how to deal with those.
Conway flicks this one onto himself, able to get it before it crosses that end line, but only safely into the arms there of Pinar Gote. Atlanta United, 5 stripes, winning their region in qualifying ahead of NYCFC, New York Red Bulls, and DC United, as well as the Philadelphia Union. So a dangerous, strong region. So United coming in as one of the best teams in this competition. That curling shot bounces just wide. Another dangerous look there for Layton.
As we get to halftime, David, we thought coming into this half that Atlanta was going to be on the front foot. They were going to take the initiative. Independiente was going to try and get in scoreless. But at this point, you feel as though the Atlanta United coaching staff can only feel positive about getting into scoreless and not being down, because Atlanta has not been sharp. They have not been clean in possession. They have not executed their game plan well.
What would be your halftime talk here? What's your emphasis?
It would be that we made it out, that it's okay. We didn't play as well as we'd like, but sometimes you don't play as well as you like, and I'm proud of you for getting to 0-0. Because this is the kind of game where you're just not playing well in the first half, and all of a sudden, even though you're excited and you feel like you need to take the initiative, that you end up losing.
Interesting to see here with the wind at their back. Campbell and Edwards not going up for this free kick. A number of other 5-stripe players in the box. This one drilled to the top of the box.
And the fact that the Atlanta coaching staff didn't wave them forward confirms to me that they want to get out of this half 0-0. They said it's just not our 35 minutes. Let's limit the risk. Let's make sure we get out of here 0-0 and regroup at halftime and reevaluate what we want to do.
Layton, as that ball played behind him, wasn't able to get it under control in the final moments of this first half.
And I like Francom taking his time here, reading the moment. It's not a great half from Atlanta, but they made it out 0-0, and sometimes that's what you have to do. Their heads are down walking off the field. The Atlanta United coaching staff is going to be positive. They obviously don't feel great about the way they played, but they're going to say, guys, sometimes this happens in your career. Sometimes you don't execute as well, but you limit the risk, you limit the damage, and that's what Atlanta United did, and now can regroup for the second half.
Independiente del Valle, coming from Ecuador here, looking to do one better than their second-place finish 2 years ago. They know that Flamengo left them up there at the top, and they will try and come back here in the second half on the MLS YouTube channel. Welcome back to Field 8 of the Toyota Soccer Center. For the second half here, the Champions Division, Atlanta United facing off against Ecuadorian competition in Independiente del Valle. As we begin the second half, it was an eventful one in the first half for Atlanta United. It looked like they might lose their starting left back in George Bello. Just minutes in, played man down for about 5 or 6 minutes while he got wrapped up. And then they brought him back on the field. The substitution, though, has been made here going into halftime, coming out of halftime. So it looks like Atlanta United finally bringing on Matthew Rios. Atlanta United, Bobby, they wanted to come out with the win at their back. They wanted to press, be aggressive in the first half. That didn't happen. So now coming into the second half, how do they handle this? What's the game plan to begin this second half?
The first thing we should acknowledge, David, is it's going to be hard. This is a challenge for them. They had really been planning and hoping to get a goal in that first half. And at this point, there's a lot that the coaches can tell them to do, but really it's about the players managing and solving the problems on the field. And when I say that, the coaches can say, I want you to try and play to the channels. I want you to try and play out of the back. But ultimately, when the game comes like this and Independiente is attacking them, the wind blowing, you start to forget all those things. And that's what's important for a 17-year-old right now, is to try and figure out what they can and can't do based on what the coach said and what the game is offering them.
So corner kick coming here. Dangerous opportunity to get some numbers forward for the side at Aguaya Kiel. Corner kick comes in, and it goes over everyone. Saved on the far side by Espinoza, and his return ball goes over that end line.
Here we see early Atlanta United splitting their center backs. So that answers our question a little bit, David, of how they're going to approach the second half. They're going to try and play. They're going to try and build out. And as Independiente presses there, when you're a center back, you know that if they're pressing you, there's got to be an option open. It's generally that space just in front of the opposing center backs. And that's where they find Conway. And Conway's going to be an important part of the second half for that exact reason.
So it looks like for Atlanta United, the move for them has been to bring in a left attacking player in Matthews, and then slide McDonald, who started at right midfield, back to right back, and swap Francombe over to the left back position.
So no Rios is what you're telling us.
Yeah, Bobby, that's what I'm telling you.
Just double checking.
For this Atlanta United team, how big a hit is this now, Bobby? That they have to go through the rest of this game without one of their star players, one of their leaders.
It's definitely a hit, but I actually think in the second half it might help them. Because in that half they looked fragile. We mentioned when Bello did go off, we said, what's he going to do to this team to lose their players so early when they've been planning and so excited? But once you have halftime to readjust, it's going to make everyone else take more initiative. It's going to make everyone else feel empowered and know that they have to step up. And considering the first half, it looked like nobody really took that initiative, and they felt like they were kind of waiting for Bello to make the play. So once you lose Bello, it forces the other 9 guys in the field as the outfield players to take that leadership role.
This one bouncing over Edwards into the feet of Suzuki. Delgado on the ball, looking to slip in Butts. The goalkeeper out. You hear everyone on the Valle bench yelling at Pinar Gote there. Finally slipped out by Pacho. United trying to press up a little bit. Force a turnover, and they're able to. McDonald now slips it in for Conway. Conway gets to the end line, gets a shot away. And Pinar Gote gets down low and makes the save.
And it took over 40 minutes, but that's exactly what Atlanta United wanted all day, to force Independiente into bad giveaways in these spots where they could counter quickly.
Bobby, not always the biggest fan of center forwards, you know, calling their own number all the time, but I like that from Conway. He had a half angle. Bernard Gote was a step off his post, tried to sneak it in there.
Absolutely, and you know, the only thing he could have done better there is to go high near post. Generally, you say low far, but if you're going to go near post, go high. And the reason is, like we just saw, the goalkeeper is going to be cheating. He's going to be waiting to go low to that far post. If you can catch him over that inside shoulder on the near post, that's a more appropriate shot. But you're right, not a bad idea to go for it there.
Nice here. Acosta for Independiente del Valle is getting ready to come on as the first substitute of the game for that side.
And with the win, look for Independiente to whip this right at that far post, to use both the whip and the pace of the ball and the wind.
Left-footed service coming in at the near post, flicked on just wide of that far post. Emerson Espinoza getting his head to it. That's a dangerous ball there, Bobby.
David, I was looking right at the transition moment there to see what Edwards and McDonald would do. And once again, they split to the outside of the box to try and keep possession, which surprised me. They didn't look that excited to keep possession in the first half when Independiente wasn't pressing them. And here in the second half, they are.
You got to have time for your coaches to talk to you.
Yeah,
try and calm you down and say, let's play our game maybe.
I'm not saying it's a wrong decision. I'm just surprised to see that's the decision that they decided to make between the coaching staff and the players.
Florio not able to get that clearance up the field. And Campbell now. A strong first half for George Campbell in that center back role alongside Kendall Edwards.
David, I don't have a great answer to this, even though I know that's supposed to be my job. But what is Atlanta's path to winning this game? I mean, as I think we talk about, you just asked me a question about how they're going to approach this half, and I don't have a great answer because I don't see what they're doing that's going to break Independiente down.
I can agree with you. I think, one, you make the substitution, right? You bring Matthews in, which gives you a different option up front, and you think maybe McDonald, who is a starting attacking player playing at right back, gives you an option to play through. But I thought in the first half, there were moments where when they kept the ball on the ground and played through Suzuki and Delgado's feet, they were able to create some openings, find some triangle situations where they can move the defense around.
And you're right, they did look sharp in those moments, but at the same time, if you're the Atlanta United coaching staff or you're Edwards and Campbell at center back, did they look good enough to say, we trust them to deal with the ball in those spots and we're not going to get countered?
And that's your question mark, and we talked to Coach Annan about it as the substitution's now made. So Leighton comes off, as it looks like Acosta will go in at left midfield. We talked to Coach Annan before the game, and he said these players aren't trained to sit in a block behind the ball and defend for 70, 75 minutes, right? They're taught to go out and try and create goals and press and get out in the open field. And so I think you got to play to your strength, which is don't sit back. And Campbell and Edwards maybe do some emergency defending, but that's the way your team plays, right?
And Dave, we've been trying to find the positives for Atlanta. We've been trying to talk about the things that these 17-year-old kids are doing well, or some reasons might not be going right. But the truth is that they're just playing poorly right now. They're not executing a game plan. They're not particularly sharp on the ball. And as we alluded to a little bit in the first half, sometimes when that's not going your way, you just need to buckle down and find a result. And that's what I'm watching for in these last 25 minutes. Nothing in terms of their style, nothing in terms of their approach, but how can they figure out how to win this game knowing that it's not their day?
Dangerous free kick coming for the Valle. One of the keys for Atlanta will be not to fall behind. This one's floated over anyone. And Bobby, we've seen some really good soccer so far today. These two teams in the first half. It was
not that?
No. I think part of that was Bello going out. Atlanta played man down for a little while. They weren't going to open up in those moments, as Atlanta does well to play out of pressure. And now Smith ends up having to touch that ball, and he's in an offside position. But, Bobby, right there, you saw Atlanta able to play out of the back, even against this wind, and have a nice moment. I think Conway's looked very good finding teammates whenever he's gotten the ball to his feet.
He has, and that's going to be their way out today. I'm generally all in favor of teams passing and learning how to build out of the back. But right now, Atlanta needs to figure out how are they going to do it. They don't look like they have any way of passing out of the back. Their solution today is playing the ball into the target forward and running off him, letting him hold up the ball. And even if he loses it in an okay spot. And a spot that might even be more advantageous to Atlanta because it's the chance for them to counter press, which is really their game plan all along.
You can hear the wind blowing from right to left behind that Del Valle goal across this field in their favor. Always a huge factor.
It's a third free kick from the similar spot. And as we said on the first one, they're going to try and do the same thing. They're going to try and whip the ball in swinger hard towards that back post so that the wind can carry it and put the goalkeeper in a tough spot. And if it doesn't get touched, it just creeps in on that back post. We see it so often. And look for these Independiente players to fake far and try and get on the inside shoulder of their defenders.
Maracho, who's been sitting on a lot of these free kicks. We saw him play some left-footed service from the far wing to start, and now the substitute Acosta on his right foot. And it'll be Acosta to take, low dipping ball. It's played off the post, alive now in the box. A block, a second opportunity. Campbell makes a play on it and then clears it back across the face of goal.
And there we saw it, David, that whipped in ball far post. If it's not touched, it almost goes in the goal, and that's exactly what they planned on. Nice emergency defending in the end for McDonald.
You look at the replay of this one, hitting the post, and then alive in the box, chaos ensuing. And Atlanta fortunate that Campbell was able to get back up off his feet as a shot comes in here, and Florio makes the diving save.
Once again, we see Atlanta emergency defending, but this is okay. There's times you hold a team accountable for not playing a certain brand of soccer, for not playing out of the back, and sometimes you just say, listen, guys, at some point as a soccer player, especially as you move up levels, you're just not going to be sharp. But at the end of the day, your paycheck is still relying on you getting those 3 points. So figure it out. Compete and find ways to win.
Matthews with the layoff. Delgado now pushing the line. He holds the ball up to allow some teammates to come up and help. Del Valle closes on him with numbers, and then offside called on that far side.
And this is a moment Atlanta United just says that's fine. We'd rather them have the ball back here because it's a chance for us to defend, a chance for us to press, put them under pressure, and win the ball in an easier spot because Atlanta does not seem likely to build out of the back all the way. So how are they going to score? It's winning the ball farther up the field and doing it in 2 passes instead of 10.
But Bobby, you asked me how this team can win this game, and 3 or 4 times now in this second half, they've played out of the back. They've had some good looks, some open spaces down the wings. That one final pass or offside, staying onside really, hasn't been there, but you can see the potential.
And I would say that they haven't necessarily been playing out of the back.
Conway's cross is blocked. It lands to Butts, who looks for the overhead kick but can't keep that ball down.
Appreciate that attempt from Butts, finding any way he can to try and get the ball on target. Not quite sharp enough, but he felt the striker's instinct to just do whatever he could to get that shot off. But yeah, David, I wouldn't say that they're playing out of the back. I would say they're making the first pass to initiate the Independiente pressing. As soon as they feel that pressing, whenever a team does step to the ball like that, there's going to be a gap somewhere. Atlanta United's doing a great job of recognizing that moment, and it's generally into the target striker in the space in front of the Independiente back 4, and that's how they're getting it. So it's not playing out of the back. It's making that first pass to tell Independiente to come get us, and then it's a more direct game plan.
Where does that first pass come from?
Generally the goalkeeper or between the center backs.
Like in the back?
Yes.
Like playing it out of the back. I got you, Bobby. I'm here for you.
I'll let you have this just because our audience probably doesn't want to hear me vent right now.
Cross comes in. Edwards knocks it down in a dangerous area. And that shot goes over everything. We're about 14 minutes into the second half here. Maybe not as much of Del Valle dominating and Atlanta panicking as we thought it would be. It's been a solid half for both teams.
In this game, 5 minutes ago we were saying, how is Atlanta going to win this game? And I'll tell you right now, it's by soaking up the pressure. It's letting Independiente feel the need to go score with the wind, with the initiative in the second half, and this is what happens. As they push numbers forward, there's going to be gaps to play into.
That one knocked down to the feet of Smith. Smith looking wide for Matthews. Can't connect on that one. Good interception by Hurtado
but
now.
He stays on it. He tries to go get it again. Pressure again. Each new person needs to step to the ball here.
And now Conway pressuring Pacho here. Suzuki able to win it back for his team. A turnover in a dangerous area. Immediately back the other way. Acosta putting on pressure. And Edwards with the acrobatic clearance, but only as far as Hurtado. Chance now as Ovando drops deep to pick up the ball. His shot goes by Florio, but wide of the far post. Though you can see the frustration there. Ovando, the center forward, now dropping deeper and deeper to try and find more touches for this Independiente squad.
Exactly, and it's important for Campbell and Edwards not to get pulled out because he doesn't want to get touches. He wants the two Atlanta center backs to follow him in so runners can then go, and it's important that the two Atlanta center backs don't feel that need, that Campbell and Edwards acknowledge that we don't need to follow him here. We don't need to get pulled out because we're doing great. We're making them come at us, and we're going to protect the danger zones in front of the goal.
Atlanta United first in their region in qualifying. They've been one of the best academies over the last 2 years in Major League Soccer. Almost every MLS team has a squad here at the GA Cup. Trying to get off to a good start in tournament play. Del Valle coming up from Ecuador. Good success in this competition as already.
There it is again. Great recognition by Edwards. He invited the pressure. He saw where the gap was as they pressed, and he played the ball into that spot. That's okay that they gave the ball away here. They're perfectly fine if they don't connect these next two or three, because even if they lose it, they have an opportunity to win it back and get that next attacking wave.
Substitution here for Atlanta. Conway coming off. Looks like in his place is Diego Lopez. Lopez, a U17 international, just coming back in March after some time with that national team. A good luxury to have to bring off the bench for this Atlanta United squad. And Bobby, I thought Jackson Conway was one of the best players on the field for Atlanta United.
He absolutely was, and this was always going to be his day. Both through the pressing scheme and the way Atlanta United is going to have to attack, finding that release player in the gaps that was created from Independiente's pressing.
You can see the foul there by Chavez, earning him the yellow card, first yellow card of the game for Independiente. Victor Delgado on the Atlanta side with a yellow card so far.
And look for Smith or Delgado to try and drop this right around the penalty spot area. Edwards and Campbell attacking the ball from the far side of the six, and if they can get in between the goalkeeper and Independiente backline.
So it's Smith who drives it, knocked away, and now Independiente looking to counter. Hurtado up the line.
Smart by Francombe. He swung there understanding that if he didn't win the ball, he was going to take the foul, and he nudged the player just enough to slow him down.
George Campbell has to make a touch on that one, and so it'll go out for a corner kick. So end-to-end stuff right now, a free kick for Atlanta. Immediately, Del Valle go back the other way. Looks like this one will go out for a goal kick. I mentioned Flamengo 5-0 opening game win over the Portland Timbers. The other two teams in this group, FC Dallas, starting out their Champions tournament run with a 2-1 victory over Monaco earlier before this game. Dangerous chance now for Espinoza. Edwards comes in with the tackle, then the block on the shot. That one will roll wide. Matthews keeps it in. Plays it all the way back to his goalkeeper, Florio. The LA Galaxy currently leading against Mexican opposition Pachuca 1-0 on the field alongside us.
And the Atlanta United coaching staff told us that a lot of times throughout the year they worry about development, they worry about process. That even if they lose, they measure the kids by how they stuck to a game plan. But there's a few times a year when they focus solely on winning, and this is one of those times. So you can expect the coaches to say, listen, I don't need you to play out of the back every scenario. I don't need you to do this or that. We're going to figure out a way to win, because ultimately coaching, their livelihoods are on the line, both for the players and the coaches, as you move up in levels based on winning and losing, and players have to figure that out. So as they try to play out of the back there might be some weekends when the Atlanta United brass says, that's good, that's what we want to develop. There's other times you say, we're not going to win that way, and this is one of those days, it appears.
McDonald now back to defend on Acosta. Long ball, that shot blocked away by Campbell. It looked like some arms on the Independiente sideline were already up to celebrate.
And once again, that's the second shot that was taken from the top of the 6, and that's Suzuki space. The center defensive midfielder needs to protect that when it's in a wide area. And we talked earlier in the game about how Suzuki was getting pulled out of there. He needs to read the situation and say, these last 15 minutes, I'm going to protect that area of the field, because that's the most important thing right now.
Hurtado now charging forward. He takes the long strike, and it goes just wide as we are 20 minutes into this second half, so about 15 minutes left to play. Atlanta United wanted to come out, press early, push this game, get a lead. Didn't go that way, Bobby. And right now sitting at 0-0 against the Valle team with the win at their back. They have to feel pretty good.
Yeah, they should feel good about this first 20 minutes of the second half.
Matthews on a run now down the wing. He's got options in the middle if he picks his head up. Looking for the feet of Lopez. And the interception made at the exact right time by Rialpe.
And that's exactly how Atlanta's going to win this game. They're going to invite the pressure, and they're going to exploit the gaps, perhaps not through beautiful soccer. It's perfectly fine if a team steps and you say, we're just going to loft it over behind you as you step. 1 minute ago, we said they were wrong to try and play out, and they fixed that. A great adjustment from these young players from Atlanta.
It'll be Smith to take this corner kick.
And Campbell open on the back post. Nobody picking him up. Independiente coaching staff next to us screaming for someone to find him. They tried to pass him on. Oh, how does Atlanta not get that ball into the box when you're big center back?
Suzuki back down the line. Delgado with the ball to the far post. It's flicked on, still alive off the head of Ovando there, the center forward. And it'll be an Atlanta throw in deep in their own half. Bobby, short corner there. You've got all your big guys up.
And they end up getting into the box. That was a short corner designed to still get the ball in from a slightly different angle and making the Independiente backline step up and giving the Atlanta players time to lose their mark.
So Remy Smith will be subbed off here for Atlanta. And coming on in his place is Tarek Sirda. Sirda, like-for-like replacement, more of a defensive midfielder.
Gorgeous outlet pass there.
This one will go out on the Valle.
Here we go again, Independiente pressing. Campbell on the ball.
Acres of space now. We've seen Ovando put in a lot of work so far in this game as Matthews is offside.
But the right decision by Campbell and the right decision by Matthews. Don't try and check. Don't go to where the space is, or where the crowded space is. Find the empty space.
Bobby, what do you make of Remy Smith's performance in this game? He was a player that Coach Annan talked to us about, who he said, bit of a late bloomer, has waited for him for a few years, but a very intelligent player.
Didn't have the best game, but for a late bloomer, for a smaller guy still growing into himself, this is the kind of game you want him to play. Just a rough and tough, not a gorgeous soccer game. So Smith didn't play well today, but you have to let players take these knocks. You've got to let them struggle in games like this so that they'll be better in the end.
So substitute coming on here, it looks like Vicente Jaime. We'll see. So Jaime, it looks like, slotting in to that center midfield position. In place.
Well read by Franco.
So it'll be in place of Cortez, that number 10 spot. Both these teams allowed 5 substitutions here in this competition, 35-minute halves. But a chance to get as many players opportunities as you can.
And Atlanta United tends to struggle when they sit deep like this. But David, so far in this game, they've been very tidy defensively when they're back in their block of 8. The 2 center backs have been sharp, good body positioning, good spacing between their back 4 horizontally.
You have to tip your cap to McDonald, who started this game at right midfield, has moved back to that right back position, hasn't put a foot wrong defensively, and I think has helped them build out of the back at times offensively.
And that's a hard move, to move back the field is much more difficult than moving up the field because you're in an attacking mindset. Moving forward, all of a sudden you've got to lock into those little defensive details isn't easy.
Francombe as well has swapped wings from right back to left back as Matthews comes over and helps win that header.
David, I think if Atlanta snags the goal, it's going to be through Matthews on the left side.
Yeah. It was not a tactical decision by Atlanta United as there's a dangerous tackle here.
Why did he just call that back? He's got to let advantage play there.
It looked like Atlanta was open down the wing. Yellow card coming here for Maracho as you look at that slide tackle there by the number 10. But Matthews forced on because of Bello's injury, but his size at that wing position and his speed, ability to come in field and help affect the game has been big for Atlanta United and when they've been successful this half.
And he's also read the game very, very well. We've talked about where the spaces are and how Atlanta's going to break them down.
So Suzuki will take the free kick. No center backs in the box to aim for. Butts can't win the second ball.
And David, a big part of Atlanta's success in the second half has been from Matthews reading the scenarios and where he can find the space.
Acosta pulls down Delgado. You saw Edwards and Campbell stay back for that last set piece. You talked about in the first half trying to read Atlanta United's coaching staff's mind a little bit by what type of numbers they were pushing forward on those set pieces. So you can see where they're at now. Of course, if this game ends tied after the next 10 minutes plus stoppage time, it'll go straight to penalty kicks. The loser will get 1 point. The winner will get 2. Either way, Flamengo would remain in first in the group as Matthews is called offside once again. Suzuki goes clattering into the back of Espinoza. You see the strength there of Espinoza to not even falter.
Fantastic defending there to both win that tackle but also read that the regular 6 Suzuki has vacated the space.
Ball into the space for Butts, well defended by Chavez. Now a collision. Delgado's onside. Delgado trying to get into the box, a one-on-one chance, and he puts his shot over the crossbar.
But Atlanta United totally turning the game right now. And David, we have to give them so much credit. We were wondering early on, would they figure out what to do? Would they figure out the game? What was their path to victory? And they answered all those questions. I mean, right now, they're having so much success in the wide areas because as Independiente presses and feels eager to go back and win the ball in good spots, they're leaving the wide channels outside the outside backs, or outside the center backs, or in front of the center outside backs.
My apology there. That last shot was Diego Lopez, not Delgado, who was able, made the attempt, try and get in on goal. Lopez, another player who signed a USL contract, so he's a professional player on Atlanta United's books, but spending most of his time with these academy teams. Atlanta United has an education program that they put their academy players through, so some select academy players go to school 8:30 to 12:30 in the afternoon, and then they go straight into training, but in that time in between, they have a chance to work on some things individually with different coaches to improve. Espinoza here, charging up the field. Tackle made by Kazuki. And now, a chance to get back into the attack for Independiente. Atlanta United having a very good second half here. Still tied at 0-0. Both these teams trying to find a breakthrough. Suzuki goes sliding down. He earns the free kick.
Good body posture by Suzuki, receiving that ball already on the half turn so we can let the ball roll across him and he's facing forward. When you evaluate defensive midfielders, that's one of the things you're looking for. It's not just what they do when they're on the ball, but what they do before they get the ball.
Campbell tries to put this free kick long, but the wind holds it up a bit. Delgado pushes it wide for McDonald. Intercepted by Acosta. That'll be a throw-in for Atlanta United, approaching the 65th minute here. Hasn't been a tie all day so far, as Lopez battles away, and that battle won by Pacho.
And if there are draws, it goes to penalties.
Yeah.
Which we wouldn't mind seeing.
It would be the first one of the tournament. You start to get sick of it maybe a little bit more after like 7-8 times, but this would be the first one.
You tease me with penalty kicks, I'm going to want them every
It
now
would
and
be
then.
a huge result, because you look at Flamengo putting that big result against the Timbers, and you think for these two teams, you got to get a result against the Timbers. If you do go to penalty kicks here, and there isn't much to separate you, it might come down to which team can get a result against Flamengo. Whoever tops the group goes on to the semifinals, played up at the big stadium just down the street at Toyota Stadium, FC Dallas. The friendly hosts of the GA Cup over the last few years, and of course, one of the most successful academy teams in Major League Soccer. One of the teams that's brought through the most homegrown players. We actually saw Paxton Pomical, one of their homegrown players, sitting on the sideline watching them get that 2-1 win. And we'll have FC Dallas on the broadcast later on next week, as Fran Combe clears that one away. Injury now as the trainer comes on. Bobby, we've talked about it a few times, but for these young players reacting to situations, a team from another country, a team you've never played against before, the conditions, this game for Atlanta United may be one of the best examples we've seen of coming out, not playing the game you expect, but understanding how to work your way through.
Yeah, David, as we talk about development in American Canadian soccer, we often talk about your ability on the ball. We talk about we need to be better passers, better possession, play more on the front foot, all these cliche lines about beautiful soccer. But at the end of the day, you have to be a problem solver on the field. You have to figure out what's going to win on that given day. And the fact of the matter is usually being better on the ball and keeping better possession makes you more likely to win. But sometimes that's not the case. And at the end of the day, you have to figure out whatever it is in that certain game on how you're going to win. And this performance from Atlanta United, who you could tell early on was not going to win through great soccer, was not going to win from their initial game plan, but they solved the problem. And if you go back through all the qualifiers for the U.S. and Canada, and you say, man, if those players had only solved the problems on that given day, if they had only done whatever was necessary, because as much as we want to play the beautiful game, at the end of the day, we need our teams to win. So this performance from Atlanta United wasn't the beautiful, flowing soccer that we often crave, but it was very, very important for their development and figuring out how to deal with a game like this.
Carlos Arroyo comes on during this injury stoppage as a substitute for Independiente del Valle. It was Suzuki down on the ground.
And Dave, you know another part of that is we talk to coaches around here, whether it's national team coaches, college coaches, the academy coaches. These players at 17 aren't that far behind professional players on technical ability. If you do passing and technical drills with these guys, it's going to look pretty similar to the first team. A lot of it comes down to the way they think and approach games. Their mentality in between the lines for those 70 or 90 minutes. So it's nice to see when a group has that right mentality. And yeah, it would have been cool if they played a little better soccer. That would have been fun. But man, from the development aspect, which is the point of GA Cup, seeing how our country is developing our soccer players, this has been refreshing to watch.
It's a dangerous spot. As you see Pacho coming forward from his center back spot. Espinoza, a big target in the box, the new substitute. Arroyo alongside Ovando. It looks like it'll be Acosta to take. His right-footed ball right on the hands of Florio, who punches it all the way out the 18. Can Atlanta United find a way to counter?
Great save. Good decision to box instead of trying to catch it. You could see that ball both dipping and knuckling at the goalkeeper, limited his risk, and just said, I'm going to make sure I block it and get it out of the area in front of my goal.
Hurtado putting some good shape on that through ball, and Edwards and McDonald are finally able to deal with it. A clean touch there. And now Matthews charging away down the right side. His header forward for Butts. Butts called for the handball, trying to use his shoulder to bring that one down.
I don't hate it though, David. Would have been nice if he had scored it, but I don't hate him going for it. Whatever you have to do to
Bobby,
win.
I don't think it was a handball.
Okay.
He just gave me the look of the century. Now a chance the other way. Ovando looking for an opening. We enter the 70th minute of this game into stoppage time. Can either of these teams find a winner? Are we headed to penalty kicks?
Again, look for this ball to get whipped at the far post. They've got to get over the front zone. And they've got everyone at the top of the box. One will go near. They'll have everyone else dip right at the middle to back part of the goal.
Pacho going to the near post. Goes through everyone and bounces. And back out the other side as a goal kick coming here for Atlanta. Independiente del Valle, one of the international clubs here, one of two in Group B alongside Flamengo. A number of teams coming up from South and Central America, including River Plate, who just went up 1-0 against DC United as they were able to close that one out and get a 1-0 win. Deflection here off of Lopez. Wind blowing this one out. And it'll be a throw in here for Del Valle as you hear the whistles go on the fields behind us. This might be the final few seconds of this one.
Oh, a tough one here. Nicely read between the wind and the spin of that ball.
McDonald trying to clear this one out, but the wind fighting against him, making it tough. Delgado can't bring that one down. Now charging forward. Realbe to Arroyo. Now out wide. Sanchez trying to get to the end line. It's cleared away. Matthews can't keep it in as we enter the 72nd minute of play.
Atlanta needs to stay focused. Looking at their body posture right now, they look like they're tired. Nobody's organizing. Nobody's firing up the team. This is more about mental strength right now than it is about being physically tired.
McDonald heads that one straight up in his own box. Florio reacts. He's able to pull that one in. Now looking for the early throw for Butts. Down this right sideline, Butts slips. And Acosta recovers it.
He's cramping right now, Butts, and he still makes a tackle.
This game's starting to get stretched out here in these final few minutes. Both these teams have put everything in this one. 70 minutes, battling head-to-head. Both these squads looking for a win to start off their GA Cup competition.
Butts is down on the sideline cramping. Play continues. Atlanta United down a man, David.
They were down for much of the first half as Bello was off to the side, getting treated for an injury. They were able to get through that. They then lost their star left back to that injury at halftime. They were able to get through that. They had the wind and conditions against them this whole second half, Bobby, and they were able to get through that as well. What an impressive performance so far by this Atlanta United team as they make a late substitution. So Butts with the cramping will go off, and Banks comes on for him.
Tough moment for Banks. Everyone so emotionally intense on the field, and he's got to step into a fire right now.
This one cleared away.
Nudge first. Nicely done. He didn't have to win that ball. That's where you just throw the defender off balance and get into the space.
Pacho able to recover well and get his body between Lopez and the ball. And that will be it. So a warrior performance from Atlanta United against the Ecuadorian side, Bobby. We are headed to penalty kicks. This the second and the last game of the day here in the Champions Division. And we've got penalty kicks coming up. Real Madrid versus Sporting KC will be the next broadcast here on MLSsoccer.com, so make sure to stay tuned for that one. Gianluca Busso, one of the stars of this competition for Sporting KC, will go on for Sporting KC against Real Madrid. Bobby Warshaw is going to be on the call there, along with Carter Augustine, our other play-by-play announcer, who's very well-versed in this Sporting KC Academy, and then Real Madrid, one of the biggest names in all of soccer. Always a pleasure to watch that team come out and show off, do what they do best. They were not able to get out of the group last year here as FC Dallas put on a strong performance against them. And now we've got penalty kicks coming up. Independiente del Valle versus Atlanta United. I'm David Goss, Bobby Warshaw joining me for this one. And now Ben Bear popping on as my penalty kick specialist. You are my goalkeeper that I bring in. You've got all the papers in your sock, right?
I've scouted all these players and where they go right, left, center on PKs. I'm also a penalty kick specialist. I did lead our rec league team to the finals after nailing the penalty kick in the PK shootout.
Just real quick before we move on to what really matters. What happened in the final?
I missed the PK shootout.
As we now continue, Atlanta United, though, Ben, you've been able to watch this game as well. They wanted to come out and press, push the first half. It didn't happen that way, but they fought back. They found a way to stay in this one, and now they at least get a point.
The first half was really choppy from both sides, I thought. Second half, we saw a little bit better pressing from Atlanta United. Again, there was very few chances. The Atlanta United goalkeeper was forced into a couple saves. Atlanta United had a couple chances. Conway with that chance along the sideline. But, I mean, the expected goals in this one is pretty low, to be honest.
So now you head into penalty kicks, and as we always say, it's a bit of a crapshoot, but for these young players, a great experience. Now, in qualifying, if you end in a draw, you go to penalty kicks. This Atlanta United team went 5-1-0 in qualifying, so they didn't have to face PK. So Florio now will get a chance to step up and be the hero. On the flip side, you look at this Independiente team, and we'll see how they choose to line up for this one. 5 shooters.
It's really interesting to note that these will be going into the wind. I mean, it shouldn't matter from that distance. But
no, it's going with the wind.
Yeah, sorry, with the wind. That's what I meant. So with the wind, any power you put behind it is going to get even more power. And if you try to be too cute, it might get caught up in the wind a bit and give the goalkeeper a chance to make the save.
So Pinar Gote and Florio embrace that goalkeeper brotherhood, but they're looking to outdo each other in this one. We have seen some incredible penalty kick performances in this GA Cup over the years. We are prepared for these two teams looking for that one extra point. Trying to sneak into second place behind Flamengo.
In reality, do you think the loser of this PK shootout, do you think they have a chance at winning this group?
Yeah.
Yes?
You look at a team in Flamengo, and if they can come in and beat one of these teams and you can beat them, and you never know what happens, right? It's always good to win and then figure it out.
True.
It'll be Ovando to step up first. So Del Valle has the chance to set the stage. You always want to shoot first in an opportunity like this. It'll be 5 shooters. And then from there, it'll go into sudden death. Ovando, the center forward, didn't get many touches throughout this game. As Florio jumps up to hit the crossbar, try and intimidate a little bit. Ovando steps up, puts it off the hands of Florio and in.
It was just great from both sides on that one. Great reading by the goalkeeper. Just above his hands. Perfect spot from Ovando on that one.
So it'll be Nate Neal McDonald now. He was a late addition to the starting lineup in this one. Got the start out at right midfield and then moved back to right back at halftime after the substitutions because of the injury to Bello. And he'll step up to shoot first. Both these teams with these 5 substitutes making heavy changes. So maybe not always your strongest shooters out there on the field. It'll be McDonald to start this. His right-footed shot put home quickly.
Goalkeeper didn't even move on that one.
Didn't really have a chance.
What do you think he saw on that one?
It looked like McDonald there with the straight run-up. Didn't really give an inclination of which way it was going to go. And Pinar Gote, not quite sure how to react. Now the substitute, Nasir Acosta, coming on for this one. You see a lot of coaches, pro level, youth level, they like their substitutes to shoot guys that have fresher legs. And now Acosta will step up. Florio gets the right way on the first shot to his right. The shooter's left. And Acosta now the second shot, and he puts it into that top corner as well. Very well taken penalties right now.
These are some of the best taken penalties you'll see so far.
It's like we're watching the Italian national team.
Definitely not the English national team.
Ooh, always a good one.
Always a good bit. Always a good bit.
So Diego Lopez now stepping up, came off the bench in a battle with Conway for that center forward position, had 6 goals in USDA, signed his professional contract with the USL squad, US U17 international. Looking to match Acosta here.
Having a lot of trouble just getting the ball to stay with the wind.
Lopez finally sets it. It'll be a right-footed shooter once again. And Lopez rolls it in. Very calmly done.
That one looked like the goalkeeper dove over that one a bit. He guessed right, but he was not able to make the stop.
First shot we've seen to the right side of a shooter.
Yeah.
For the 4 shooters combined. Another substitute stepping up now. Vicente Jaime.
My question is, you set the ball down, it moves a little bit in your run-up, and then you shoot. Do you reshoot it? What will the referee do? I think that, I mean, in the NYC Paranense game, they were trying to kick free kicks, and every single time the ball was moving, and they had to redo it.
Yeah, we've seen that on some corner kicks throughout the day as well. Another right-footed shooter. We've seen 2 players go to their own left, and now the other way here, and very calmly done by Jaime.
We could be here all night.
So it's a best of 5, as we said. Then it goes to sudden death. All the other games have ended, waiting for Sporting KC Real Madrid to kick off, which will be on MLSsoccer.com right after this one with Carter Augustine as well as Bobby Warshaw.
Important to note in that game, SKC, Gianluca Busio starting up top. He's an MLS player. And 3 players who just signed with Swope Park Rangers, the USL team, today, actually.
Delgado to shoot. His right-footed shot off the hands of Pinar Gote. And he's still able to find the back of the net. As Ben said, we might be here all night. What a shootout so far.
So now we've seen the goalkeeper guess exactly right each side once and just miss it by a fingertip on each side.
The center back now stepping up, Leandro Rialpe. Coming forward to take this one. All the pressure still on. Atlanta's been able to match Independiente so far in this one. Rialpe to shoot. And he snaps at it quickly and puts it in to the left side of the net.
That was an interesting Pika.
Very calm penalties from every player.
First of all, very calm. But, like, the goalkeeper went that way for a reason because the way his hips were looking, he was going to go that. And then at the last second, he snapped his foot the other way.
Suzuki now stepping up. Suzuki wearing the captain's armband in this one. Japanese citizen living in Atlanta. An integral part of this Atlanta United Academy. That holding midfield role. Can he match Rialpe? And Pinar Gote gets a hand to it once again and makes the save. That one, Ben.
That one hurts. That one hurts for Atlanta.
And now
they have to make a save here, or there has to be a miss. Otherwise, Del Valle gets the 2 points in this one.
So this is for the win. Emerson Espinoza, the holding midfielder, who's been one of the most active players all game, trying to steer his team to victory, has a chance to step up and secure the extra point for this Independiente team. Florio trying to intimidate a little bit.
We got some Nahuel Guzman tactics here.
Espinoza in the Cristiano Ronaldo stance, ready to shoot. Quick run up, and he puts it in the corner. Florio guesses the right way And Espinoza buries his penalty. 5 shooters for Independiente del Valle, 5 makes for the Ecuadorian side, and they secure the extra point.
You have to be a bit disappointed not to get those 2 points if you're Atlanta, not to get the 3 points, not to get the win in the match. But overall, I think this is a pretty fair result from both sides, given what happened over the course of the 70 minutes. And you can't go home saying you have really had a missed opportunity, but it's obviously disappointing.
These two teams went toe-to-toe. They scrapped and clawed for 70 minutes of action and then penalty kicks. It took 5 shooters to get over the edge. Independiente del Valle with the victory in this one to begin Group B play here on the first day of the 2018 Generation Adidas Cup. Stick to MLSsoccer.com and just flip on over as Sporting KC is about to kick off against Real Madrid to close out the day's action. Thanks so much for watching us here. Myself, David Goss, Bobby Warshaw, Ben Bear, and everyone else involved. Have a great night.